Hello guys, my name is Ice and welcome to my first video tutorial. In this tutorial I will be showing you how to work with Helios and making it control switches and buttons in Falcon 4 BMS. This will not be a complete how to make your own profile tutorial, but rather a quick run through of the basics that will allow you to either make your own profile or to enable you to go into someone's profile and make changes or additions as you need in your particular situation. Again, this is my first video tutorial, so thank you for your patience. For this purpose, the date stamp on this video is the 19th of November 2012. For this video, we'll talk about how to add toggle switches and push buttons and how to bind them in the game. We'll also talk about callbacks and layers and using custom images. A few other concepts like hidden layers and push and hold commands like the eject command will be covered in a later tutorial. So to start off, we add the game that we are playing as an interface. As we can see here, Helios has detected all the simulations that we have installed in our computer, as well as all of the devices that we have plugged in. By adding the Falcon as an interface, basically what we're doing is telling Helios how to interact with this simulation. As we can see here, we have three versions of Falcon to choose from, and obviously we want Falcon 4 BMS 4.32. Next we go in here and navigate to our Falcon 4 BMS user and config folder and select the appropriate key file that we are using in the game. And there Helios has loaded our key file, and as we can see here we have a short list of the key files available in the game. For example, in this first line here we have the sim air source dump, which is simply the callback for the air source knob on the dump position. Now the air source knob has four other positions: the dump, norm, off, and ram. And all these four callbacks basically just tells the sim to put the air source knob in those particular situations. Now if you hold our mouse cursor over any of these, we will see the key combinations assigned to them. For example, air source dump is assigned to left shift, left control F3. Now the actual key combination assigned to a particular callback is not important. What is important with Helios is that there is actually a key combination assigned to that callback. Callbacks with no key combinations assigned, Helios cannot use them. So if you want to use a particular callback, just make sure you go in and assign a key combination to that callback. Again, for the new the guys new for Falcon, a callback is simply a fancy name for commands or controls that we are using in the game. Okay, so the first thing we will do now is to add two switches. But before I do that, I'd like to go in here and take the background out of these extra monitors. And the reason I'm doing that is simply because I am using Helios alongside with Lightning's MFD extractor, and I am using MFDE to extract cockpit instruments and display them in my second monitor. This is how my profile looks like once I'm using it, and this is how it looks like without my Helios profile. So everything that you see here is extracted via Lightning's MFD extractor. And the reason why I take out all of the fills here is I like keeping Helios always on top. And the reason for this is when I'm using hidden panels such as this one for the right console or this one for the left console, which is obviously above the Lightning's MFD extracted gauges, I would just like to keep the always on top box ticked there, just to make sure that all of my panels and everything that Helios does is on top of Lightning's MFD gauges. If I had clicked the fill command there, obviously that provides a background for Helios, but then that will also sit on top of the gauges, and unless I put cutouts on that background, I won't be able to see those gauges. So I just untick that one, and if you do this, you will have to play with a dark or a blank background when you are flying, otherwise your desktop image or background image will show through. Anyway, onto our tutorial. The first thing we'll do is add two switches, one for the master arm switch and another for the laser arm switch. Now the master arm switch is a three-way toggle switch, and let's use that one. And let me just rename that one. Switch master arm. Right, on the layout drop down here we have the name for our switch. Now if you are planning to do a big profile with lots of switches and buttons, it might be a good idea to think of a naming convention, simply to make things easier to find once you start binding them to the game. Next we have the left and top lines there, which is basically just the pixel coordinates of whatever you are working with, and again the width and the height, and that is just how big your switch or button is in terms of pixel sizes. Anything we have in Helios we can rotate 90 degrees either way, and I will talk about that hidden function later on. As the master arm switch is a three-way toggle switch, we have 1, 2, and 3, which just basically corresponds to the image of the switch in the top, middle, or bottom position. If we are working with custom switch images and we wish to change the image of the switch here, this is where we would go to change it. Now a switch can either be an on or an on switch or a momentary switch. And basically an on switch is your typical switch wherein you flick it one way and it stays in that position. Whereas a momentary switch is one that you have to flick and hold, and the switch is actually spring-loaded. As soon as you let go of the switch, it returns to the default position, which in this case would be the middle position. Now for our example, obviously the master arm switch is an on type of switch, and with a default position of 2. The default position simply tells Helios once it starts the profile which position the switch should be in. And again for master arm it is the middle position. Indicator light is used when we have something like the gear panel or one of those switches with a light installed. And then we have the activation type for this switch. Now first we have the touch activation, wherein we simply click at the top or the bottom of the switch to activate the switch. The other activation type is swipe, and this is familiar for people with smartphones or iPads. Simply swipe in the direction you want and the switch will move that way. I prefer the swipe activation type simply because it saves me from accidentally activating the switch if I tap by error on any part of the screen or on the part of the screen that's close to the switch. Okay, so that's our master arm switch. Let's add our laser arm switch. Now we all know the laser arm is a two-way switch, and so I'll use that one. There we go. And again, same information. As it is a two-way switch, we only have positions 1 and 2. And again, we can change it if it's an on or a momentary switch. Default position for this one is again position 2, but this time position 2 is actually the down position. And let's keep the click type on swipe. And there we have it. Two switches. They kind of look lonely there by themselves. Let me just add a panel as a background for them. Now one thing, when we resize anything, we have 4 circles at the corners here, and we can simply drag, click and drag to resize it. But obviously by doing that, we lose the aspect ratio or the proportion of whatever it is that we are working with. So if you want to keep the proportion of it, just hold down the shift key while dragging, and as you can see, it keeps its proportion. Just keep it that size. Looks good. And as we can see here again, that the new backplate or the new panel that we've added is appearing on top of the switches. Obviously we do not want that, and we want to move that generic backplate or that panel down below the master arm and laser arm switches. Now as we can see here, Helios adds things on the layer depending on how we add them. Obviously the first ones we add gets put at the bottom, and anything new gets added on top. Now to change the position of anything, we simply click on it and then click on these two buttons here to move them either up or down through the layers. Now I'll just move this back plate down, and there we have our switches again. Next, let's add two buttons, and this one will be our master caution button. And for this one, I will resize it to 200 by 100. Looks like a good size. Oh, sorry. And let me just drag that here. There we go. Now again, the usual left and top coordinates, the width and height, how big the item we are working with is, and again a momentary or a toggle button. So again, momentary, you keep your finger pressed and it stays pressed. As soon as you let go, it goes back to its normal state, and the toggle is one of those that when you press it, it stays on. Press it again for it to go off. Now we can add symbols, a circle, right arrow, upward caret, something like that if we need to. For this example, obviously we do not need that on a master caution switch. And here we can go and add a text to that switch, to that button. And obviously that doesn't look anywhere near what the master caution button looks like in real life. So for those artistically inclined or those with Photoshop skills, you can go and make your own images and use them with Helios. So here I've just made some master caution images, and I am adding them to the game. Now for those of you who are using somebody else's profile, or if you want to know where to add your custom images, you simply add them to your My Documents and Helios folder and put them inside the Images folder there. I simply have subfolders here in my Images folder just to keep things organized. You can just dump everything on that Images folder and everything should be fine, and Helios should be able to find them. Okay, so master caution is a momentary switch, and it lights up in the game depending on certain conditions, and this is how it looks like when it's lit up. And as soon as you press the button to acknowledge the master caution, that's it with the light out. Next, let's add a fault acknowledge button. And let's just make it a bit bigger. There we go. So that is our fault acknowledge button. And again, let's use some custom images for this one. And that one. Right, so that is our fault acknowledge button there. And there we have it. We have two switches and two buttons, but currently they do nothing. Our next step is to bind them to callbacks, and there are two ways of doing this. The first way is to select the control on the input tab, and for example, in this case, the master arm switch. There we go. And then we select the interface on the top here and bind the switch to the proper callback. So here we have the master arm switch. It's a three-way switch again. So we have position 1, position 2, and position 3. So how to bind it to proper callback? We just select that one and drag to send callback. And for this one is master arm on position 1 is obviously master arm on. There we go. Position 2 is going to be master arm safe. or in this case it's called master arm off, and position 3 is going to be master arm sim. That's it. And there you have it. We have now mapped, or we've now bound the master arm switch to the proper callbacks in Falcon 4 BMS. Now the second method is to select the control here. In this case, let's try the laser arm, and as you can see, let me just check. Yep, that is our laser arm switch. Then select the output tab and select the interface down here, in this case Falcon. Right. So as you can see, the steps are mainly identical but are accomplished in two separate ways. And the second method is simply, instead of earlier we drag the position to the send callback, now we do it the other way around. So we drag send callback to the position and then assign as normal. So for laser arm, position 1 is laser arm on, or laser arm arm, and position 2 is laser arm off. And again, there we have it. We've finished binding laser arm to Falcon 4 BMS. Again, the steps are mainly identical but are accomplished in two separate ways. The benefit of this second method is plainly seen in this example, and here I am showing you my version 12 profile, and this is how we see it with the input tab selected, and we can see that the callbacks loads of them, and finding the proper callback for a particular switch is quite difficult. But if we use the second method here, we simply go to where we want to check whatever it is that we want to check. For example, the parking brake, and we just click the parking brake, select the output tab, and straight away we can see which callbacks are assigned to that particular switch. For example, if I wanted to check on my master arm switch, just clicking on that one, and again straight away I can see what callbacks have been mapped to what particular position of the switch. If for example one of them was mapped in error, simply click the X button there, go back to your interfaces, select Falcon, and click and drag send callback, and again find the correct callback to bind to that position of the switch. Alright, at this point I would like to point out the limitation of Helios, or at least how it is with regards to Falcon 4 BMS. Currently it's not possible to sync Helios with the switches in the game. For instance, if the master arm switch is on in the game but is set to start in position 2 or the middle position in the profile, I do not know how to make it so that Helios can read the BMS switch state and assign the Helios switch image accordingly. This is a perennial problem, for example, for the landing gear. Usually I like to assign the landing gear lever to the default down position or position number 2, but sometimes you start a mission in the air and obviously the landing gear lever is going to be in the up position there. It is for this reason that we use what is called as switch state callbacks instead of the toggle callbacks to prevent out of sync problems with switches in game. Again, the out of sync problem is like that example I've talked about with the landing gear, wherein it is in one position in the game and a different position in Helios. Now a switch state callback is simply, let me just bring up master caution again, or sorry, master arm. A switch state callback is sim safe master arm, sim arm master arm, and sim master arm. That is what we call switch state callbacks, which tells Helios at which particular position to put the switch in. Now our toggle callback is what we call sim step master arm, and this callback simply cycles the master arm switch through the different states that it's in, obviously. And as you can see here, using the toggle callbacks will present us with out of sync problems with the switches and Helios. So anyway, that's it. Let me just fix this one again. Laser arm off. Right, now we've mapped our switches. Let's just map the buttons here real quick. So master caution, and fault acknowledge. There we go, sorry. And that's it. We have now bound our two switches and two buttons to the proper callbacks in Falcon 4 BMS. Now, as I said earlier, the master caution light comes up in the pit for various situations. Usually when you've damaged your aircraft or somebody has hit you with guns or a near miss from a missile, or for whatever situation, the master caution light will come on. Now obviously it would be cool if we could get the Helios master caution button to light up as well. And we can do that in the sim. And to do that, we simply select Output tab here. And we set the master caution there. Just drag that up. And then we select what bindings from Falcon. As you can see, we've selected Falcon here, and we select the bindings here, and we can see that the left eyebrow light master caution indicator change, and we just drag the physical state of the master caution button there, and that's done. So basically anytime the master caution indicator light is changed in the game, that will trigger Helios as well to change the physical state or to light up the button in Helios. So that's it. We are done with this tutorial. Let me just save that one. And there we have it. In summary, we have discussed how to add Falcon as an interface and make sure we're using the correct version of Falcon and the correct key file. We have added switches and buttons and examined naming conventions, and we've seen how layers work. We've seen two ways of binding the controls to the proper callbacks and the advantages of the different ways of binding them. And again, I would just like to reiterate the limitation of Helios with regards to Falcon BMS. As much as it can read the states of the lights in the game, such as the master caution and other eyebrow lights, I do not know of any way that Helios can query BMS as to the state of the different switches and thus have the switches in sync automatically. Again, this is why we use switch state callbacks in assigning the bindings. And so there you have it, a basic understanding of Helios in relation to Falcon 4 BMS. I hope this tutorial has been helpful, and thanks very much for watching. In the next set of videos, I'll be showing you this profile in action, and we'll be showing you the advanced topics as well. Again, thank you very much, and have a good day.